Hi, Sylvain from Bernina. Does the prospect of hemming jeans give you pause? You're a little scared of breaking a needle? May have happened before. I know it did. Well, there's a way to prevent that. Foot number 8, the jeans foot, is your ticket, right? But it does more than just hemming jeans. It's actually a straight stitch foot. And it does very well on thick or thin, including going over those lumpy cross seams that are prone to breaking needles. So we are not going to break needles today. Let me show you how the foot works, why it's so good, and I'll talk about some applications other than hemming jeans that it's excellent for. First, foot number 8 comes in 2 flavors. The traditional foot number 8, which is a normal sole with a straight stitch hole, and then there's a D version for machines capable of dual feed. And that will add, as you can see at the bottom, the cutout on the back for the dual feed to engage, where the regular foot has a solid sole. Now, one of the important features of this foot is that in addition to the straight stitch hole, there is this groove here that does not extend all the way to the back of the foot, because that being a thread escapement, it allows a thread to lay flat and form the stitch completely and with good tension. And then it will be subject to the traction of the foot on the feed dog right after the stitch is completed. So even through thick projects, you get very good feed and very good stitch formation with good tension control. The D version may look different, but it's actually very similar. You have the same little groove, but here the sole has been partially cut out for the dual feed bracket to come in. So there is traction here, just like there is on the regular foot. Now, let me show you what the actual ace in the hole is with foot number 8. Being a straight stitch foot, that's good, but here's what happens. When you go over a lump, like that cross seam when you hem jeans, the foot will start angling to climb over it. And the magic comes in the way the hole is shaped. From the bottom, you wouldn't see it, but from the top, you can tell there's a little bit of a funnel carved at the top of the hole. And here's what that will do. When the foot encounters a lump, let's say you're now crossing over that bulky side seam on your jeans, the foot will start angling up over the fabric. Now the needle will come down and enter the hole. The point is tapered, so it will find its way. But this, at the back here, you can tell that the bottom of the hole in the foot has moved forward. That's because of the angle. And so when the needle comes close to this, it will graze against this side, which is polished. So when I say graze, it's not going to scrape, but it will be guided along so that it cannot bend to the back. And then as the needle gets grazed and corrected, it may graze against the front of the stitch plate opening. And in this case, we use the straight stitch plate. That way the needle will be forced straight down and will not break. When a needle slants into a heavy project, that is when it's most likely to break. So the foot, in combination with a straight stitch plate, forces the needle, guides it, and governs the needle so that it will not bend and break. Now, the secret sauce here is that you want to use a size 100 or 110 needle if you want to take advantage fully of that feature. And I'll come back to the needles later. So again, the foot, with the way the hole is shaped, in combination with the straight stitch plate, will govern that needle and prevent breakage. Now that's for going over lumps. So to show you an example, this is jeans that have been hemmed. Let me flatten the bottom, and you see that when the foot goes here and it meets the lump, do you see the foot will angle up? And this is where normally the needle would break. But because of the design of this foot, this will not happen. Again, you'll need the right size of needle. So let me show you some examples of what you can use it for. And then I will go back over the magic formula, if you want, the standard ingredients that make this work every time. Now, let me give you some examples of what this foot is good for. Of course, hemming jeans is the star application. It's the one pretty much that gave the name to the foot, and it works very well. Now, this is a heavy denim, but it's not a super stiff denim, and it doesn't have any stretch. It's just plain cotton. So that would be your traditional jeans if you want. What I use as a needle here is a 90 jeans needle. The jeans needle has a stronger shank than a, let's say, universal or embroidery. So it will take in the lump, if you want, the resistance better than the average needle. It's also sharp, which is what you want to sew on cottons. So a jeans 90 is usually enough with this foot and a straight stitch plate to hem my jeans. And I've used that a lot. So that is the star application. If you're going to do heavy stuff, we did a small video recently, those 60-second videos. This is 2, 4, and 8 layers of heavy denim. And you can tell there's a lot of layers here. With foot number 8, I did a video maybe, I think last year, 12 layers of this kind of denim, 12 on the baby Bernina 215, which is like a 3 series today, like our little Berninas. It went through it like butter. With this foot, and it was just a size 90 needle, and it went through the 12 layers like it was nothing. You just lengthen your stitch because the thicker the project, the more thread you want to feed into that seam because of the thickness of the layers. So you lengthen your stitch to probably 3.5, maybe 4, depending if it's a finishing stitch. So that's for heavy layers. That would be a good application for tote bags where you end up with multiple layers, webbing at the top, maybe straps that cross that. And talking of straps, this is nylon webbing. Nylon webbing is crunchy. If the needle finds in between the weave here, if it finds a hole, it's happy. But if it finds a ridge, like one of the big coarse fibers, you need a sharp needle to go through this. So a jeans needle will be good. And then you need a strong machine, which all Berninas today have DC motors, so they can go even at slow speed. They can go through thick and thin. And then you just want to take your time. But foot number 8 will govern that needle. So this is canvas. It's a heavy canvas. It's very stiff. This is about half the thickness of the denim. But I would say it's about twice as resistance to perforation than the denim was. So for this, you want a sharp needle and you want foot number 8 with a straight stitch plate. That will give you that governance on that needle. You get a perfect stitch all the way through the project. I once broke, not proud of it, but broke a whole pack of 5 needles in about an inch worth of tote bag. It was a tapestry fabric with a cotton liner and a deco bond, which is great stuff to make give body to the tote bag, but it's stiff and it's dense. So when I boxed at the bottom, I wanted to sew the seam before I cut the triangle to box the bag at the bottom. You have 3 layers, doubled up, that's 6, and then the seam allowance turned under, that's 12 layers, 4 of which were deco bond. I broke 5 needles within 1 inch, and then I stopped in shame, and I said, I'm supposed to know this. So I went to the magic formula. Foot number 8, straight stitch plate. And then I went to a size 110 sharp needle. And if you need to go to something that heavy, that's beyond jeans now. If you need to go to something that is that hard and heavy, you want a 110. You can get away with a 100 size needle. And I will go to a top stitch needle. If I need to go past 90 in size, because it's so heavy, I will go to a top stitch needle. Because not only it's sharp, it's sturdy needle, it has the bigger eye, almost twice as tall. So the thread has a better chance to flow freely and not get those little loops that sometimes with 12 layers of fused material can cling onto that thread and give you a loop. The top stitch needle has that little insurance on top that will make that stitch perfect even on very heavy material. But at the other extreme, I sewed the sheer. It's a polyester sheer. It's beautiful stuff. It seems like it floats, like a gossamer almost. It's relatively dense, so it can crinkle. This, I use a size 70 microtex needle, and the finest thread I had on hand, a 70 weight thread. And actually, some of your serger thread is your finest thread you have in your stash if you don't have time to go get a specific thread. So this, with foot number 8, gave me good fabric control, straight stitch plate with a straight stitch hole in the foot, good governance. The fabric was controlled. There was no puckering in my seam. I just used a shorter stitch and a very fine thread, fine needle. It worked just as well. So thick or thin, foot number 8, and its pal, foot number 8D, are your ticket of success. As always, the foot is what controls the fabric at the stitching point. So you want to take advantage of the best features. And you don't have to worry about hemming jeans anymore. I take the shortcut. I hem my jeans usually with a size 90 jeans needle, the straight stitch plate. And I use, whatever regular thread. Although if you need to match that gold thread that's existing on your jeans, you have to shorten them, for instance. You can use polyester embroidery thread, and I use a triple stitch instead. And I can mimic that original jeans thread that I may not have on hand. I can mimic it perfectly because there are so many colors available in the embroidery thread. So Isocord, 40 weight, or if your local store carries a Polysheen brand. Polysheen is the same thread as Isocord, but it is same color numbers, but it is a smaller spool. So if you're only going to do a little bit with it, you don't need to buy a big cone. You can buy just a little spool. So to wrap it up, foot number 8, straight stitch plate. If your machine that has press foot selection on the touch screen, you can select the foot, and that will take care of centering the needle and locking it there. If your machine does not have press foot selection, there's a backup. Use the security program, select the straight stitch plate, which you want to use anyway with the straight stitch foot, and then you can make sure that that needle will not deviate and hit the foot by inadvertently using a zigzag, for instance. So there are other straight stitch feet available for patchwork. They're all straight stitch feet, right? There is even a narrow toe, the number 53, the old small toe, big toe. It looks very antiquated today, but it's actually, there's uses for that foot. But if you want to be able to go through heavier stuff, foot number 8 is definitely your insurance policy. It works super well, and I rely on it all the time. I have both, as you can see. I tend to use 8D nowadays because it gives me that extra traction. When you get to crossing seams on denim or doing some really, really thick stuff like tote bags, you're putting straps and webbings, and then you flip the top and you end up with like 12, 15 layers. Then what I like to do is use 8D because it gives me that extra drive, if you want, that extra traction, that now the bulk of the fabric does not interfere with the feet anymore. And I use a longer stitch, of course, when I get to that. So that's it for foot number 8. Simple, brilliant design that works. And the ace is definitely in the hole.